Good evening, friends, and welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show here on Newsmax TV. After a year and a half of misery, a cabal of disinformation is finally feeling the heat. Dr. Fauci, the biased press, the Socialist Democrat Party, and Communist China are revealing how untrustworthy and dangerous they really are. In fact, it may be worse than any of us have thought. The deep state is real and working to harm the USA. Disturbing revelations in tonight's preamble. Over the weekend, a pro-American president, President Trump, spoke at the North Carolina GOP convention. In his speech, he reflected on the increased scrutiny being paid to Dr. Fauci and his enablers in the left wing, including those in the Democrat Party and the basket of biased press.
The media, the Democrats, and the so-called experts are now finally admitting what I first said 13 months ago. The evidence demonstrates that the virus originated in a Chinese government lab. Couldn't say it. You couldn't say it. And Dr. Fauci, who I actually got along with, he's a nice guy. He's a great promoter, you know? Not a great doctor, but he's a hell of a promoter. He likes television more than any politician in this room. And they like television.
It's true, Dr. Fauci has been more politician than physician. He has confined his interviews to largely dishonest left-wing outlets. He even graced the cover of InStyle magazine because, you know, nothing sends the message of a doctor working tirelessly to protect the American people like a guy in shades lounging at his pool while countless millions suffered at the hands of the China virus. But it seems that Dr. Fauci, perhaps for the first time in his long career of sponging off the American taxpayer, is getting increased scrutiny because of his decisions. Those decisions may have led to Communist China imperiling the world with a deadly virus that broke containment at a Wuhan lab. And as more information leaks out and Fauci's left-wing allies run for cover, His Eminence appears a bit unnerved.
You should want to know how this happened so that we can make sure it doesn't happen again. But what's happened in the middle of all that, I've become the object of extraordinary, I believe, completely inappropriate, distorted, misleading and misrepresented attacks, which, you know, it is what it is, but it's happening, and that's unfortunate.
But many of you may be wondering why so many anti-American elements in and out of the media have begun to abandon Fauci. Why now? Why has the pro-China narrative that had suppressed the Wuhan lab leak theory since last year, suddenly it's meeting opposition? Now, something's changed, right? I wasn't quite sure what that something was until now. In an exclusive report backed by independent reporting from former Fox News journalist Adam Housley, Red State is reporting that a high-ranking Chinese defector has been in U.S. custody for over 3 months. It's also reported that this defector has direct knowledge of several Chinese special weapons programs, including China's bioweapons program. Now, at this point, we should remind you that those same people who were calling the lab leak theory a conspiracy theory are now saying the same thing about China's bioweapons program.
The problem is, and I've done this myself, we can't conflate the conspiracy theories that were going around, people saying it was a bioweapon, with the legitimate question of whether there was some kind of lax safety procedure in that lab where they were working with these kind of viruses, and that's how the pandemic might have originated.
Even after the lab leak house of cards is in the midst of crumbling, Mara Liasson of NPR, with no pushback from Fox News, is alleging that a bioweapons program is, you guessed it, a conspiracy theory, a sentiment echoed by Dr. Fauci himself over at CNN.
I don't remember what's in that redacted, but the idea, I think, is quite far-fetched, that the Chinese deliberately engineered something so that they could kill themselves as well as other people. I think that's a bit far out, John.
I don't think it's far-fetched at all. In fact, knowing how maniacal and inhuman communists are, it's 100% consistent with what we know about regimes that are made up of such godless, cold butchers. According to sources in our intelligence community who spoke to Red State and Adam Housley, person believed to be among the highest-ranking defectors ever to come to the United States from the People's Republic of China, has been working with the Defense Intelligence Agency, the DIA. The defector has direct knowledge of special weapons programs in China, including bioweapons programs. But here's the truly frightening aspect of this story. The FBI, in particular FBI Director Christopher Wray, and the CIA was not informed the DIA had this defector in custody. Red State alleges that Director Wray was, quote, ambushed with the information that the high-ranking Chinese official was cooperative with the United States and the authorities, and was spilling, by the way, this proverbial beans on Communist China's malign activities. Sources revealed that DIA leadership, who I have to assume are pro-American Trump holdovers, the DIA leadership kept the defector within their clandestine services network to prevent Langley and the State Department from accessing this Chinese defector. Now, why would they do that? The Red State report says it's because DIA leadership believes there are Chinese spies or sources inside the FBI, inside the CIA, inside the State Department, and several other federal agencies. In other words, there are elements in our own government working to protect China's malign activity against the United States. They're traitors. Adam Housley further reports that Communist China is actively trying to cover up their culpability in the pandemic. Housley tweeting, quote, U.S. intelligence has a Chinese defector with Wuhan info, and China is trying to produce variants that suggest it came from bats to cover up that coronavirus originally came from a lab, end quote. Not to put too fine a point on this, my friends, but President Trump has been proven right again. And that leads me back to his speech in North Carolina this weekend.
But Fauci has perhaps never been more wrong than when he denied the virus and where it came from. The time has come for America and the world to demand reparations and accountability from the Communist Party of China. We should all declare within one unified voice that China must pay. They must pay.
The majority of Americans agree with President Trump, but it seems elements in our own government do not. And it seems to me that the same people who opposed President Trump in his first term are the same people who claim that the lab leak scenario and Chinese bioweapons program are a conspiracy theory. It also seems to me that these are the same people who leaked to undermine President Trump and benefit Communist China during Trump's presidency. In the last 4 years, we've all heard the term deep state. It's one thing to suspect it's real. It's quite another to have its existence confirmed and to know that these deep staters are working for the benefit of the world's biggest human rights abuser, the biggest usurper of liberty and freedom in the world, Communist China. Socialist Democrats, the biased press, and elements of our own government are protecting a regime that just killed over 3.7 million people worldwide and counting. And some of those very same people are working not only to cover up for China, but to cover up their own involvement and their deception. They can't be allowed to get away with it, can they?
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.